Welcome, everyone. This is Toni Weel again on this beautiful Thursday from Florida. I don't even know if it rains or cloudy or whatever it is. We get all of it, and definitely heat. It's definitely all the time in the high 90s. And what I learned is there's going to be a heat wave all over the US. So that's not always too pleasant. Anyway, today, Sarah's not with us. She was so busy, had important things to do, but we have Katie with us and Gary and Tat, and we have some important things to talk about. But first, I wanted to read something that Lucas Laquintini wrote. And he has been on our podcast twice. He wrote a few books that come highly recommended. You can get them in printed format and in on Amazon and as an ebook. Or was it on Amazon? No, it wasn't. But I'll find the link again. But I want to read this, and he wrote this about a week ago. I am all for the gradual and balanced transition because I have seen too many people pushing themselves too fast and too hard, only to end up bouncing back into binge eating instead. Whether it be going raw without much transition or fasting or forcing oneself to dry fast for multiple days at once. There are always individuals with a strong conviction and will that enables them to succeed. But this is not true for the majority. As soon as circumstances and events create difficulties, desire arises, or the neglected emotions resurface. It all turns into chaos because they never took the time to build a new and stable foundation. Detoxing and changing our lifestyle is not just a mechanical thing. They are both physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual components that need to be addressed and integrated. Every journey is unique, but long-term success always requires a combination of physical arts, practical knowledge, emotional maintenance, greater awareness, responsibility, and trust. He is so right on the point, and I just love his little. He writes daily. So if you want to find it, it's Lucas Luccas Laquintini, Laquintinia, and he's on Facebook. So I thought it was beautiful. If any of you guys would like to respond to this.
Well, yeah, I can jump in and go first. Yes, of course. I remember Arnold Ehret, I think he's talked about in some of his books the importance of the transition, and I know Professor Spira, he's talked a lot about it, and they talk about sometimes, you have to spend, several years transitioning for some people because, you're unwinding old patterns that you've created for so many decades or so much of your life, and for a lot of people, their whole life, and we see it constantly with people is that, they get to a state of desperation and they want it now. It's kind of like that commercial, it's my money, I want it now, instead of, being patient with the process and letting it unfold in the timely manner that it needs to. And when we get like a little kid, we just want it now, and so they'll jump too fast. And I see people all the time. They'll message about, oh, I'm having really strong detox symptoms and I don't know what to do. I'm on the floor in pain. I've been eating fruit for only 3 days, and then fruit only for 3 days. And then you ask them, well, what were you eating right before you started the 3 days? And then they tell you they've been eating all this junk and stuff. And you try to explain to them, you're like, well, you can't go from eating all of that junk just straight to eating only fruit, or doing only juices, or trying to do much less, trying to do the stronger levels of fasting like water or dry and all that. but people, they don't sometimes understand how strong of a response their body's going to have, from jumping so strongly into the water without even really learning how to swim, and so I just explained to people that sometimes we as humans, we're stubborn and we have to learn the hard way. People have to really have that experience so that their body will tell them, say, hey, look, you gotta slow it down a little bit, and I try to explain to people that give yourself at least a good month of just eating all clean foods, like all raw fruits and vegetables and maybe little bits of seeds and nuts in small amounts before you jump straight to only fruit. And then maybe for some people they need to, drop the nuts and the heavier foods and eat only fruits and vegetables and then go to only fruits. Sometimes you have to, keep stepping it up like the pyramid or the ladder that we talk about sometimes in our group, and don't miss a stage or a step, or it can be too strong and aggressive for somebody, some people's bodies. And one last thing I'll point out, and then I'll let others give their point too, is that sometimes people, they'll look at other people's experience and they'll look at how other people were able to do it much faster and much more rapidly, and their body could handle it. And they think, oh, well, I can do that for myself. And they don't realize that not everyone's body's in the same situation. Not everyone's genetics is the same equal strength. Not everyone's level of trauma and drama that they're carrying is the same. Not everyone's lifestyle and where they live is the same. There's so many variables, but we as humans, we desire to copy what we see in others because that's an inherent thing we got from our parents. We copied what we seen with our parents when we were growing up. So that's familiar to us. They call that in psychology. That's, it's like family is very similar in the word to familiar. And it's the same thing with psychological behavior as well. You copy other behaviors you see sometimes and it becomes familiar. So when you get into relationships with others, sometimes you can be attracted to what's familiar to you when you were growing up. And that can also mean toxic behaviors and toxic relationships. So see, we have to understand these patterns and understand why humans behave the way they do. And then you can understand why you go into certain situations and certain things in the patterns that you do. So that's kind of my take on it, but I'll let others give their take. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I find is a lot of times when you're sharing information with people, they go, well, if that was true, my doctor would have told me that. So they're either not interested in doing it or their fear factor of the unknown. Oh my God, what will happen if I start doing this? And so that is right when they're going to start a cleanse, like 2 or 3 days before they know they're going to start it. So they start loading up on all the things that they love. And then they go right into a all fruit or smoothies or juices or whatever, right? And there's just so much the body has to do to eliminate what you already ate. And if it was meat, it's laying in your intestinal tract, and there's putrefaction there. So it's trying to sweep all that stuff out, and it's breaking more toxins loose than the body is able to eliminate at that time. The other thing that happens is we shouldn't really be doing, well, let me reword that. When we do a cleanse, it's really a lifetime thing, not a 3-day thing or a 10-day thing or a 15-day thing. Because as soon as they get done and they start to feel better, they go back to the very food that made them sick. And they get sick again. And they're kind of blaming it on the fruits, berries, melons, and vegetables. Some people have to start with maybe a green smoothie instead of fruit, because the smoothies, even though they're good for detoxing, they're not as fast. So the rate at which you detox determines on whether you're dry fasting, water fasting, juice fasting, smoothie fasting. These are all different levels and speeds of detoxification in the body. And your body has to be able to eliminate those toxins at the same speed that you are detoxing, or you're going to have a cold and flu-like symptom. And those can be not so bad, or they can be brutal. When I did mine, tiredness was my first one that I did back in 99, 2000, right around there. It totally shifted my whole life. But by day 4, I never missed any work, but I was like really tired. And then once I got past that 4th day, the 5th day I started to gain a little energy. By the 6th day and the 7th day, I felt like I could roll a house right off the foundation. I had so much energy coursing through my body, and everything in my body shifted. I went from double vision glasses from the time I was 6 years old. Day 7 of the cleanse, no glasses at all. I've never had glasses since. I lost 20 pounds. My gums and my all healed, and they were tight against my teeth. My teeth were tight. I mean, it's just amazing. But if you go back to the old diet, you're going to recreate those things, and it's mostly sugar. But okay, I'm going to end right there, and let others speak.
Yeah, I think we touched on the subject quite often about all these detox modalities, the 3-day, the 7-day, the 30-day, and it's like, I don't think it is really helping anyone if you come straight from a standard diet with what we now know is just mostly junk food. Um, I took my time, but that was before I met Dr. Morse. I took my time in transitioning, not even being aware of transitioning, but it was leaving out the meat, then leaving out this, then leaving out that, and until you got to an all-raw diet. But it is amazing how it's being pushed and how many people are making money out of that. And there's nothing wrong with making money. Don't get me wrong here. Or don't misunderstand what I'm saying, but if it's not helping people and it is actually damaging, because when you start, like what you just mentioned, with people 3 days fruit, and they are in so much pain, and they came from a standard Western diet. Well, it's a worldwide diet nowadays. I mean, even in the eastern part of our world is just as bad, with a lot of cheese and milk and meat and everything. Um, I lost my train of thought. How is it even possible?
Well, while
Yeah.
you're trying to re-grab it and bring it back, there was one little short point that I wanted to add, and then we can go on to another question. Is the talking about when you're transitioning, about how people need to really sit down and have a deep contemplation and be honest with themselves on why they feel like they're so attached and addicted to the foods that they love, that they're so addicted to. And they have to be honest with themselves and look at how complex addiction is, because that's the only reason why they're loading up on all their favorite foods before they start a cleanse for any significant period of time, because it's that part of the emotional body that's saying, oh, I don't want to give up those foods, but you're forcing me to because you want me to go on this cleanse. And then you can see how addicted they are, because they'll start saying, okay, well, how long do I have to do this for? And how soon can I go back to those foods I was eating? We've heard people say that for years in our community. They'll say, oh, okay, well, how long can do I have to do this before I can go back to eating meat? And, we're trying to explain to people that, like Gary was saying, it is a lifestyle change. It's something that you should want to make these lasting changes for the rest of your life. You should be so willing to give up those addictions to things that are hurting you so bad that you're willing to let them go and be liberated from them. But you have to understand, if you have a hard time giving them up, then you have to start asking yourself, is it possibly more than just a physical addiction? it's many layers. It goes into the spiritual, the emotional, the psychological, and then that's what makes you realize that, oh, I have to surrender to these feelings and these emotions, and I have to ask myself, why am I so addicted to them, on such a deep level? And you start to realize that you're having attachments to that substance because of other things that may have happened in your life. You may have had a wonderful memory with one of your relatives that you really loved, and so you don't want to give up donuts because you had a wonderful breakfast one time with one of your relatives that you created such a fond memory that every time you eat donuts, it makes you feel those feelings that you didn't get enough of when you were a kid. And see, so you have to understand that mental and emotional and psychological connection that we have to these substances that we experience. And so once you understand that, see, you really can't understand how to move past it until you understand why it's happening. If you don't understand the why, then you're going to keep repeating the same patterns. It's the same thing in relationships with others. If you don't understand why you're behaving the way you are in relationships, you're going to just keep attracting the same partners, the same people that you're going to keep having the same relationships. And so you have to be very patient with yourself because these patterns keep rehappening so that you can eventually learn from why those patterns keep rehappening. So what we're trying to explain to people is don't be frustrated in your journey. These things are going to keep rehappening until finally the light bulb clicks and you realize you have to surrender and let go of what's holding you back from moving forward. And that's why we've talked so much about the processes of surrender and letting go, and the doing the deep breathing and all of those things, because it goes deeper into the layers of the reason why we form these bad habits in the first place. And so that's what you're seeing playing out so much in the world, is that you're seeing a spiritual energy in the world that's trying to bring us up higher dimensions of frequencies of energy. And a lot of these lower energetic people that are still living on those lower levels, they're feeling irritated because they're being pulled into something that they're not ready to be pulled into. And so then it starts bringing out all of their deepest emotional, mental, and spiritual baggage. And that's why you see all the mental illness and all these things coming to the forefront. And you see major addiction, you see major dependency, you see all these things coming to the forefront because we're all being encouraged and being pulled towards trying to move to those higher dimensions, because that's the way the world's moving into that too. And so that's a level that sometimes people don't think about. When you step off into this world, some people are not ready for that, because our society from so many years ago, we're taught to only think of detox as a physical thing. We never realized that you're stepping into a world that's way more complex and deep than just the physical, because we are so much more complex beings. And a lot of people don't realize that that's how complex your being of who you are is. You're so much beyond. Like, if I will say this, and I want to see what Gary thinks about this. I think you're really, what makes up your total who you are, you're maybe 20% body, and the rest of it is spiritual, mental, and emotional. And that just shows you how much more you need to work on all the rest besides just the body, because the body's just what you're using to experience the world. And you're so much more than just the body. So the more time you work on all the other things, you really find that it's not hard to take care of the body. You just have to take care of the other areas, more efficiently, and then the body kind of takes care of itself eventually. Yeah, but that's all I want to add. We can move on now. Yeah.
So I agree with that 100%. It is amazing that how influenced we are to be victims. And we're not victims. We're the commander in chief of this body right here. And I was just listening to one of my videos where I said we have 4 major brains. We have many brains in the body, but we have 4 major ones. 2 here. This one doesn't know this one exists. This one doesn't know this one exists. Our gut is the next one, and our heart is the big one, because it produces 5,000 times, scientifically, 5,000 times more energy when it is in alignment with who we are, it gets diminished because we are as boys, well, you cry baby, well, you this, well, don't take that, and you should fight for your right and all this stuff, right? So we learn to shut our heart down, and especially with certain relationships that come into our lives that leave us, heart sick. And I'm not talking about just guys here. This happens to women also. But yeah, the spiritual, the physical, the emotional, these are all forces that affect the body, just like shallow breathing affects the body, dehydration affects the body. Most everything that goes wrong with the body is a hydrational really our diet and our oxygen. These are the things that keep the physical body in alignment. But if we're not with it up here in the temples, where all the knowledge is stored, if this is sick or congested or confused, it's going to settle in the body. And once we clear the mind by opening the heart, the gut and the mind and the heart will start to come together, and we will be balanced again. When the brain, what's between the brain and the heart? The mouth. And we use this to speak our beliefs and disbeliefs out into the world. And our words are quantum energy. So when they're out of tune, it comes out in our story. I was just sick in the heart when this happened. I don't know that I can ever recover, or there was the information that came in was so painful that I thought my brain was going to explode. We speak these things into our story all the time. So unless we're an observer and really listening to people as they're sharing what's going on in their life, so that we can help them clarify and move on from that particular situation, then they're going to continue to suffer. And us as individuals, we're no different. We've all had those things happen, but over time, as you age, you start to pick up the part of the physical that's wrong is the energy, and the energy is what we speak and what we breathe, and detoxing your circle of influence sometimes is huge too. What the information we're letting in, to detox from that, to shut off the TV and the movies, and read great books or listen to great videos. These are the things that help us heal here. And as this heals and the energy rises, the body will heal itself. That's the other thing we have to learn, is the body is the master. The body is the doctor. The body is what moves us around. But without energy, like we have muscles, right? We're all trained to think about the muscle. Oh, we need big muscles. We need this, we need that. Muscles will not move without energy. And we see that all the time. And the body is a battery. And there's 6 batteries stacked on top of each other. And when those get weak, then we start to lose function in those areas. And they are the ankles, the knees, the hips, the shoulder, the elbow, and the wrist. These are where the batteries are connected. And there's a little, almost like a little web inside our wrists, all of our joints. And that is where the batteries connect. So if we have a problem with our wrist, we start to lose our ability in our hand. If it's our elbow, it's from here down. If it's the shoulders, from here down. Same with the hips or the knees or the feet. That's how the energy flows through, is it has to go through these joints. So in Qigong, we're constantly doing things to keep our joints loose and fluid so that the energy can travel through and we have more and more power. And power is generated through our ability to breathe. So the deeper, the longer, the deeper the breath, and we hold and then we exhale, we will build so much power in the body. It is unbelievable. You can have the strength of 10 tigers just by learning how to breathe, hydrate, and have good food, good high energy food in your body. Okay, so I'm going to cut it off right there. Next.
Didi, did you want to add something? We want to hear your voice.
Yes. Yes. So I was thinking about
Yes.
my own journey and how I just like jumped in. I mean, because as soon as I made the connection, we are not meant to eat animals, I just switched. And I know I've shared my journey on this show before and how, I lost 40 pounds so fast. I started losing my hair. And I mean, so I had some negative effects of it. And really, you guys, a detox is about what you're taking away. And so if you're thinking that you're going to do detox for 3 days, then you're kind of missing it, because then like even Gary just shared, you don't go back to how you were eating before. This is a lifetime journey. And, I think about when we go on trips, we always plan for things, even things that may or may not happen, but we plan. And that's what this is all about too, when you're talking about a detox journey. It's a journey. And so you have to have some prep work ahead of time. And I loved how Thad shared with us things that we need to consider, whether it's physical, emotional, emotional, or even the thought processes. And so I was just putting on the YouTube channel, I said, I highly recommend anyone who's on this journey who has not read Dr. Morse's book, The Miracle Resource. I was trying to get a link from Amazon, but I haven't hit sent yet. It's a great resource for you to read prior to jumping in on this journey, because he does talk about some of the things that you may come across. And when you know what you may come across, then you're better able to handle it when it happens, because you did some prep work. And that's the beautiful thing about these shows too, is because we're here to help each one of you on your journey, so that when things do come up that you're not expecting, then at least you have a resource of somebody who can say, well, this is how we can help you, or this is what you can do. So anyways, and I also was thinking about slow and steady wins the race. You don't need to go full throttle. So slow and steady wins the race. And that's what your body wants to do as well. Because, for me, I'm not quite 50, but so for 50, we're going to say for 45 years, I wasn't eating healthy. Well, that was 45 years. So in, a year's time, I can't change everything, but I can make big progress in my change. So that's all I wanted to add. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think it's the more that we understand how the body works, the easier it gets. And so that's where we come in. We keep teaching and learning. I had a question about iron deficiency. This was actually in a group. And the question was, I have severe anemia. I recently tried supplements and it ended badly after just a few days. I now have a problem with breathing, so-called air hunger. I suspect it's due to adrenal fatigue. It's been 2 weeks and I still have it. Sometimes it's better, sometimes worse, but it's a terrible feeling not being able to breathe fully. Oxygen level is okay. Don't want to take glandulars because it will weaken adrenals, which are already weakened. Don't want to do iron infusion because there's a higher risk that I react badly. And it's not really a solution. Kidneys filter gently on raw food for over a month. Eat about 50% of daily fat requirement, drink heel tea, start the day with green juice with the addition of green powders, then some fruit, a smoothie with greens, then a salad, also green. I definitely have a problem with absorption because that is what iridology says. I'm waiting for herbs for anemia. Because of the breathing problem, I don't like exercising, walking, self-realization, absolutely nothing. Let me see. I take capsules for adrenals and drink a tincture of rosary. And I see there's a lot, the anemia and the iron deficiency. Can you guys shine some light on this?
The first thing that I think of when people are sharing information like that is, so they're having trouble breathing, so they probably have a lot of toxicity in their lungs. So they're not getting enough oxygen to supply their body. And there's a breath that we do called a lion's breath, because most of our oxygen blood transfer takes place in the lower part of the lungs. Also would like to know how flexible the rib cage is, because it is a cage, and if it's not flexible, it can't expand and contract the way that it should when you're breathing properly. Because breath is the engine of the body. It generates energy within the body through the hydration and the minerals. So the lion's breath, and the way I do it, there's a bunch of ways to do it. The way I do it, I involve the meridians for the kidneys and the liver at the same time. So I'm not going to stand up and show you how I do it. I'm just going to show you a lion's breath. And I have videos on all of this, and they're all free. So lion's breath, you breathe in through the nose, tip your head back, smile, which releases dopamine when you smile. So all your cells are going, yippee, so they're getting a shot of some really cool stuff. So and I'll do a breath right now just to show you, because there's a second part. So inhale through the nose, head back, smile. Nice deep belly breath. You want those ribs to expand. The lungs don't breathe, they're just a sac. And then when I say lion's breath, exhale, you stick your tongue all the way out, and that opens up the whole channel right down to your lungs, right? And you go, and you can tap your belly. We go down the inside of the legs and up the outside, right up to the kidneys, right back up. And we do 3 to 5 of those before each class, and opening the lymphatic gates. There are 6 lymphatic gates. Really important to keep these open, because this is what allows the toxins to go into the lymphatic system and get pushed out of the body. So that would be the first thing that I would say. There is low energy is low oxygen, and low oxygen is I don't know if they're shallow breathing, just breathing through the mouth, whether they can even breathe through their nose. There are ways to activate the diaphragm through the breath, but it's a lot easier through the nose, and through the nose creates nitric oxide. But for people who aren't good at breathing through the nose, you can hum. And the crazy thing about humming is you can't think and hum at the same time. Because the minute you have a thought, even if it's a word, like you're humming a song, you have to stop humming to get to the next word, or the next note, or whatever it is you're doing. So yeah, humming creates nitric oxide. Nitric oxide helps the heart relax, and it keeps the arteries more flexible. So you're getting more blood through. And I don't know if this person has high blood pressure or low blood pressure, but these are all electrical issues, and they're all oxygen, hydration, nutrition based. So, okay, I think I'll tap out right here and let somebody else take over.
Yes, would you like to add something, Ted? It's the breathing, I understand. I don't understand the connection with the iron deficiency and the breathing.
Did you want to clarify first, Gary?
Sure. So In order for the body to run properly and do what it needs to do, to be in alignment, is breath, hydration, and nutrition. The body will self-correct any iron deficiency because it's not functioning properly. And there are certain foods that you could eat that would give you more iron. There are herbs you could have that would give you iron. But there's also the people who have too much iron. So this is all breath. This is all electrical issue because the body is not processing properly unless the energy is exactly where it needs to be in the body, so that the organs and glands and the muscles can function the way that they're supposed to. That would be my thing. If you want to add to that, please do.
Yeah, I think what Gary's trying to explain is he's saying that if the main processes of the body aren't functioning correctly, then the body can't begin to correct that, what's going on that's a weakness or a deficiency or any of that stuff. So yeah, I agree with that completely on how to help the body to start to process better. But also too, I would add that you have to take away the obstructions as well. And that's part of where the detoxing comes in. You have to get the pollution out of the way because the individual could have malabsorption. And when you have real bad malabsorption, no matter, even if you're consuming the highest grade of iron possible, you're not absorbing it properly. And then if you don't absorb it properly, you're not utilizing it properly because, you can absorb it all day, but if you're not going to utilize it, your body can't use it properly. And if you're not able to do those techniques that Gary's talking about to help your body to utilize it properly, because if you're not getting the basic requirements you need, proper breath, proper nervous system regulation, proper sun exposure, proper connecting with nature, and trying to transmute or diffuse all the environmental magnetism from the EMFs and all of that throws our body's electrical systems all out of whack, and our nervous system all out of whack, because your body's in a nervous system disorder or in dysregulation, from all the electricities that are so out of regulation and balance. That's where Gary's talking about helping to bring the body systems back into proper, functioning, And then also I would have people to look at how well does their liver function, because see, when your liver's not functioning properly, that's where you can develop anemia and a lot of problems with, iron. And then a lot of times people's livers aren't functioning properly because they have too much chemical exposure that they've had throughout their life, even when they were a young child, even possibly when they were even a baby, and so see, the liver is overburdened, it's overtaxed. But it can also be overtaxed and overburdened with emotional stagnation as well. Because remember, there's always that emotional baggage, emotional stagnation that affects all of the organs differently. And the emotional stagnation that is affecting the liver greatly is anger, pensiveness, frustration, and when someone has to look at their life, they have to look at, okay, what could be making my liver weak, making it have these symptoms that it's having. And so you have to look at all of these different factors that we're talking about because, so we can't tell everyone to do the same thing because everyone's so different. So you have to take the information we're providing and you have to find out how to self-assess your situation and see where you're different from everyone else. And if you don't have the tools and the capabilities of doing that, that's where we recommend you to reach out to people like us or anyone that you resonate with that can help you to really analyze and look at all of these different puzzle pieces that are scattered out that make up the true you and who you are. And then you can figure out how to come up with a protocol. Because, I was even listening to a great healer the other day, and they said any great healer has a protocol of ways to help you to become stronger and better, health in your life, and that's why, of course, Dr. Morse has one. And that's why, of course, Dr. Morse taught us all how to help ourselves come up with a good protocol for ourselves. and our families, but also to help any of our clients, that if we want to have clients, you know, because he's teaching the information out there to just help not only the individual, but to help us to go on and to help other people too, if we feel so inspired and inclined to do that, you know. So you have to really break it down and look at all the components on what's working properly, what's not working properly, you know, how genetically strong are you in these areas. That's why iridology is so important. You know, you have to look at all of these different factors, and then you have to put them all together in a big spreadsheet or a puzzle piece, you know, to see what needs to be addressed here and there. And then you need to look at how all of them are holistically connected too, you know, because you might notice you'll have some connections between the ones. You'll be like, well, no wonder this is weak, because look at this over here that regulates and helps that to be stronger, you know, and you'll see all these different connections and how they're tied in together the more that you understand how everything works, you know. So, and then the last thing that I'll mention is that a lot of times people are getting iron from the wrong sources, and their body is overwhelmed and over polluted from too much iron from the wrong sources, like too much from the wrong types of foods, and then also from cooking with the wrong kind of cookware. You know, for years, especially here in the South of the United States, I've heard people for years say, "Oh, cooking with cast iron gives you a great source of iron for your diet." You know, people have talked about that for a long time, and that's like that's
Yeah.
so incorrect, and that's so wrong, because that's like trying to say salt is a good source of minerals when that's inorganic minerals. That's not organic minerals. There's a difference. And people get it so confused, and they think all minerals are the same, or they think all iron is the same. And those elements are not always the same for our human body, you know. And so that's why you have to explain to people that the more you get your body cleaner, and then you start giving yourself the correct sources of nutrients. And see, this is where you don't want to be just a complete fruit eater. You want to eat some greens sometimes, because like greens have a better source of iron than you do your fruits, you know, because of the chlorophyll. You know, so when you're dealing with certain situations, you have to incorporate, for some people, a little bit of green foods like alfalfa or moringa, because moringa has a wonderful, really easy absorbable form of iron that's great for your body to use, that will not over accumulate in your body and will not be a problem for anybody, whether it's a man or a female, because sometimes females need more iron because you always have your cycle, and generally speaking that's true, than men. Men have to be real careful not to get too much iron, because, like Gary was saying, because sometimes that can happen. People can have an overaccumulation of iron, and then the medical association tells them the only way you're going to solve that is by giving blood. You know, and well, really what it is that their body's giving signs that their body's overwhelmed or overloaded from too much iron. But then the last thing I must point out or add to it is that a lot of times people don't realize also that certain foods like animal products, especially dairy, can block the absorption of iron. You know, and so there's so many different substances in foods out there that we also don't realize that we could be consuming, and that's one of the reasons why we become anemic. You know, so there's these subjects that we sometimes get onto talking about. They can be quite complex because, you know, there's so many different layers upon layers upon layers that it takes a little while to explain it all, you know. And so that's why we're kind of long-winded sometimes, is because you can't just give a simple answer for it, because, you know, it's
No.
very complex, you know. But yeah, that's all I could add, you know. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Ted. It is complex, and we always need to know more about the person to you know, when we start working with them and get to the bottom of it, because there's more to it. If you are a month even into eating all fruit, don't expect that you healed. It can take years. When I started, I was like, oh, okay, my age, yeah, that's probably going to take me 7 years. But soon you come to the realization, once you go on this path, there's no way back. You can only move forward. And of
And
course, you have to see what works for you and what doesn't, and how you feel with it, and not be afraid of some, yeah, possible detox symptoms. I heard somebody say, if you don't have detox symptoms, you're not detoxing. But I figured I gave my body at least a year to transition.
Mhm.
And I must say, I didn't get any detox symptoms. And
Mhm.
it was, yeah, and of course, there are some pains. I mean, there's no worry because you know that in a few days it will be gone. So I never saw it as concerning. And I felt like I just embraced those things as being my body is hard at work, and there is no fear. But I do understand when somebody realizes how anemic they are, and they have questions, and oftentimes they don't know where to look because there's so much information out there. You get the doctor will give you the iron pills. I know a doctor did that when I was in my very early teens because I was anemic. And so they always come up with lots of solutions. And I know that Dr. Morse has a formula. Blood support is actually one. You can use nettle herb, and I'm sure there are more herbs, but nettle is what comes to mind right away. And you just take it like day by day and see how you feel. And I've had another time I was anemic after, my God, how long was it? I think 5 weeks. No, 42 days. Well, 6 weeks. Of what was it? The lemonade fast. And I started to see my gums getting white. I was like, oh, okay, I need to stop and get back and get on fruit. But that was way before, this is 10 years ago, way before I knew anything about Dr. Morse. So we'll take it, it's always, you take it day by day, but what I see is often a problem is that people follow so many different things on the internet instead of sticking with one. I have done that too. But when I met Dr. Morse, it was like, okay, I need to learn everything that he is sharing with us. And
Mhm.
of course, Gary, the way that you are explaining things and that it's sometimes beyond what Dr. Morse can do, but it's still in the same directions. We are all on one. What do you already say that? One line, one something. We agree with each other. That is what I
So
trying to.
I want to bring up one more point about bad iron, because Thad brought that up. Well, if you see flour or cereal as fortified with iron, they actually, it's like taking a bicycle and putting it on a grinder and grinding it up. There's little tiny pieces of iron in the cereal, and you can put cornflakes or flour in a bag and take a magnet and just move it around on the bag, and it's still inside the bag, but you can see the iron. You can see the iron caught on the magnet.
Yeah, Gary's
So,
very right. There's actually videos on social media where people show that even in the baby cereal from Gerber, it shows the
yep.
same exact thing, Yeah.
And what do you think that's doing to the enamel on your teeth, let alone when it gets in your system?
Yeah, well, also it's little shards of metal. I mean, what do you
Yeah,
expect this
that's
to
right.
do inside your body? But
Yeah.
yeah, while we're speaking of that, I was just going to add that we're living in amazing times, guys. We're living in a time where, these things are coming so much to the forefront of understanding for so many people that there is actually companies out there that are making products that are supposed to be made the way they should originally be made, not made from the way that industry makes it, because it's the leftover remnants of just following in the footsteps of the medical association that was made from a company that started the medical or the pharmaceutical association that was started by a man that just wanted to use his leftover resources from the oil industry. That's what Rockefeller did. He made all your original vitamins were made from coal tar and byproducts from the petroleum industry. Well, then we've moved so far away from that in our awakening that our journey of humanity is on, that we've come to understand that the plants are what's originally held the power. It's just that we've had such strong brainwashing over all these years that people think, oh, the medicine or the supplements are the source. When no, and that's why we even see it in my parents' health food store. We've had such an evolution or an evolving or a transition from what the old used to be, because the majority over the years of us having the health food store, the majority of iron supplements, the reason why they have a safety cap on it is because it will constipate you and it can be poisonous, because that form of iron is the actual wrong form that the body needs. But over the years, we've started seeing other companies that come out with plant-based sources of iron. Like, for example, there's a great company out there that makes a great product that you can get good source of iron from, that just is from organic curry leaves, organic thyme, and organic echinacea. And that's all that's in the supplement that helps you to have more iron. And that's just one example. Like I mentioned, the green foods, but I'm just trying to give you examples, guys, that go when you want something to give you something to help you to build, because that's what we're talking about right now, because we're talking about building. And remember, sometimes you can't build efficiently if you haven't cleaned up the house first. That's what Dr. Morse even explained, because he was into construction. He said you can't remodel a house if you don't clean it up first. You can't, you got to get all the trash out of your way to be able to remodel it. So it's the same way in our bodies. When you're talking about wanting to get more nutrient absorption and all of your vitamins, minerals, and requirements that you need, you got to first help your body to receive those new added nutrients that you're trying to bring into the body, or you're going to literally be flushing a lot of it down the toilet, because if you don't absorb it, you're just going to flush it down the toilet. But if you start to get these forms of nutrients that's in an easier absorbable form, then it's much easier for your body to use those elements of energy and nutrition. And so that's what we're trying to explain to you, is that you have to look at also the sources, because for so long people just relied on supplements and normal standard vitamins that are very, very small in their ability to absorb. That's why your standard supplements and vitamins that you get from most stores, they're just bedpan bullets. They just literally pass right through the body in the same form that the tablet was in when you bought it. And these companies don't care that you don't absorb it. They're just wanting to make money off of you. And that's what's really sad, is that people don't realize that you're taking your resources, which is your money, and you're investing in something that's you're not getting really anything out of it, just because you want to save some money. Sometimes you have to invest a little bit into a higher quality product to actually get something out of it that makes it worth your investment of that money. So again, it just goes back to education and understanding how things work, and it's just knowledge. Knowledge is what all of this revolves around. The more that you can accumulate that can help you in life, you can start to see the forest instead of just focusing on one or two trees. But I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Ted. I have two more questions. And that was, are CT scans with contrast dye a bad idea? And can anyone talk about these and the dye they put in you? Now, I have been a receiver of that dye, so I know what it does to me. But who would like to respond to that?
Oh,
So,
I don't know about Gary, but go ahead, Gary, because I have a lot I can speak on this one, but go ahead, Gary. Yeah.
well, my my question was, is this for an MRI? Is it radioactive dye?
It
Because they
is
have a
a,
radioactive.
yeah, it's a CT scan with contrast dye.
Yeah, if that's radioactive dye, we had a guy in our group, it was years ago now. He had the radioactive dye and he was in so much pain. And we had to, it was like every day we were trying to keep him from committing suicide. And that was from the dye but it was radioactive. And what that does is it puts radioactive or radiation in every cell in your body. And that's how the machine reads it. That's how you get that 3D image of the body. It's picking up the radiation. So a lot of people can't have that in their body. And that's why they're taking iodine out of almost everything, because radioactive iodine basically is what it is. And if you have iodine in your body, then it won't go in. The iodine won't allow the radioactive iodine to go in. So you're better off having iodine in your body than you are having radioactive iodine injected into your body. So keep your iodine levels up, whether you do that with seaweed or iodine drops. Put 3 on your wrist, and then you rub like this, and if it stays there for if it's gone within an hour, then you're usually low on iodine. I'm not a 100% believer in that, but it does absorb into your skin and it does go into the body. I do know that. And it will go, your thyroid that's why everybody was taking iodine during one of the nuclear meltdowns they had in one of the nuclear plants. So everybody was taking iodine to protect their thyroid from that. And now they're taking it out. Yes. And when they matter of fact, it was hard to get iodine at that time because so many people were buying it to protect themselves from the radiation. But now the medical system is taking it out of everything so that they can inject you with radioactive iodine, which I find a little backwards. But hey, I'm not a doctor, so I know I wouldn't do it to my body. So okay, Thad, go for it, man.
Yeah, so the reason why that is the radioactive iodine shows, or radioactive properties of that contrast, it shows up on the X-ray easier. Well, what they also use, and you can go look this up, is they also use heavy metals. And that's the same reason why you don't want to take, again, going, and it's very ironic that it's connecting in. That's another reason why you don't want to take iron supplements that are the wrong form, is because, again, it's heavy metals, because in the same reason why you don't want iron from the skillets, that's heavy metals. That's just more pollution in your body that's harder to get out, that the actual parasites attract to, because they hold on to the heavy metals in your body to stay alive. So a lot of times you got to do a heavy metal cleanse or help the heavy metals to come out of the body before you can efficiently get rid of the parasites fully. We've even had different companies that sell cleanses that educated us at the store about that, much less what I know about from the detox teachings. But anyways, look up, I want you guys, if anyone's interested in this subject, look up how they use the contrast that is, I think it's like 80 to 90% of the contrast that they use. Now, they don't use this for the brain MRIs because that's something totally different. Because a lot of times for the brain MRIs, they don't use a contrast because they know how toxic it would be for the brain, that they can't do that. But for the rest of the body, a lot of times they use what's called gadolinium. And if I'm pronouncing that word properly, and that is a heavy metal contrast, but it's very, very toxic, very, very bad. I mean, there's so many people that have had such a bad reaction to it, and one of the people was Chuck Norris's wife. You can go and read the whole story, how she had a major reaction to that contrast. And they went down this huge rabbit hole of just how they're trying to really bring this attention and awareness to, to the society and communities out there and helping people to realize, how dangerous it can be. So to really be honest with you, you need to explain to people, and help people to understand that if they're in that situation and they're trying to tell them they need that MRI, that you need to tell them, well, you can do the MRI, but you're going to have to find a different alternative to to the contrast, because that's going to just further cause my body major problems, because you're injecting a substance in my body just so it'll show up on the MRI that is very polluting and damaging, which is only going to cause you more problems than what you went in there with in the first place, and it's the same thing as a reason why you don't want to get, root canals and all those things, because they inject into your roots heavy metals so it'll show up on the x-ray, so they make sure they got all the infection, and it's the same. You have to look at these procedures, and you have to ask these doctors and these physicians and these people why they're doing what they're doing. You have to ask them all these questions, even though they're going to look at you strange. You wonder why you're asking so many questions. And then you have to stop and think, okay, do I want my body subjected to that which they're fixing to do to me? And then you can always have the right to say no, and so you need to just be aware, because remember, you need to take back your power sometimes, because, you're in control of what happens to your body. Don't let anyone talk you into doing something that you might later regret because you just trusted them. Because and that's what we're seeing playing out since the whole 2020 fiasco too, is that too many people blindly just trusted them, and then look at the situation that a lot of people got themselves into. But that's a whole nother subject that we don't have to go into and talk about, because we all know about what that is, but so that's how I would, really, to keep it short and simple, that's how I would explain it, is just look into gadolinium, if I'm pronouncing it right. It's the name of the heavy metal that's what majority of the contrasts are that they use in the MRIs, to my understanding,
Yes, it is, and that is what I've experienced, and was actually after an got to the hospital with a heart attack. They asked me if it was okay to put stents in. I said absolutely not. And before I knew it, I was out. And as out in the meaning, they must have put something in the IV to put me under, and they put some dye in it. Later, I found out it was the gadolinium, and when I woke up from that, and I had never given any permission, and there was no one else who could have given permission, they just did it to see if there was a blockage, which there wasn't. And when I woke up, the first thing was something changed in my brain. I was so, something changed in my brain. And it was so bad that I could not, the toxicity, that I could not remember things. I could barely finish a sentence, and that has been going on for years because I was not detoxing it out because I didn't know. So in the first year that I started with Dr. Morse, and I started working with people, then one day it just dawned on me. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm talking from early in the morning till late at night without, any problems. And that's when I realized I finally detoxed that stuff out. So for me, it is like, yes, it is possible to detox it out, but it takes a long time. So it is better to not ever start it. I had no choice because I didn't know what they were doing. And it was only years later that I found out what exactly it was that they had put in my body.
Yeah, that's so sad that you had to go through that, Tony, and my heart goes out to you for that, because that's just another one of these stories that we hear of crimes against humanity, that these people, they should be arrested and put in jail for being able to do that to somebody, because that's your body. You should have the overall say so. They shouldn't just do something to you that without asking your permission, just because they think, oh well, this is protocol, this is what we're supposed to do, and oh, we're just trying to help them, then it'll be okay. They don't have to always give us permission. And that's just so messed up, it's so messed up. It's just like you see Dr. Morse's expression in some of his old videos when he hears these people write in on there, because Dr. Morse is giving you his real expression to these testimonials that he's reading from people, because it's the first time he's read it right in front of you. So you're seeing his full first expression of reading this information that's coming from the words that the person wrote, even though it's going through a electronic technology, he still can feel the energy coming out of the words that they wrote and the way that they wrote them. And then that's why you see him get emotional about it, is because he can feel the pain that these people have experienced through their words from the horrors that they went through from the medical association, And I remember one story of how this lady, he told a story, and I think somebody was sitting there with him talking about it. Maybe when one of his people working with him in his office or whatever, but talking about that they took several of her organs out without even her permission. And it's just horrible that they can do this shit to people and get away with it. When that's just, I mean, because once they take it out, once they do it to you, there's no going back. And at least in your situation, Toni, it was something that luckily you've been able to detox out the majority of it and stuff. But look at what the cost it did to you and the quality of your life that it diminished, all because of something that, that they didn't have the right to do to you, that you didn't give them the permission to do, and so that's
Yeah,
just why we have to be a voice, so that the people that don't know any better can really be cautious with how much they allow people to mess with their bodies.
it's like as soon as you enter that particular building, then you're no longer in control over yourself. You have to be
Right.
really strong to be in control.
And
And
that's not right. That's
I
not right.
have, yeah, I am. I've never been one to go to doctors or hospitals unless it was absolutely necessary. But at that same time that I was there, they also put me on Coumadin, rat poison. And
Wow. Wow.
that almost killed
Mhm.
me, and I was bleeding out of all my pores, and made them aware, and they were like ignoring it until there was a night nurse who said, "Oh my God, we're killing you." And I didn't know that was in the IV actually, and I didn't know it was in there. They don't ask, they do.
Mm.
And they can say it's standard procedure, and then on top of that, you get a diet that you are absolutely not supposed to eat certain fruits. Grapefruit is one of these things. And that is because the grapefruit would do exactly as what the chemicals were doing.
Yes.
Well, not only that, it will interfere with the medicine that they want to give you too.
Yeah, but I didn't take any medicine, so I got on herbs right out of the hospital. And but anyway, so that was yeah, gadolinium. Don't do it. Don't do the CT scans and with dye. And sometimes it's like, there is a reason that you went there. Let's talk. I'm like, let's talk about this. What is going on with you? And I hope that more people know how to find us so we can talk it over. That's why I offer a free introduction call for people. But I'm actually surprised that very few people are taking me up on that to even have a free chat. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, well, one more thing, Toni, before we move on, that I just didn't want to forget, because I always love to give people a solution that could be life changing and saving to some people when we're talking about these subjects, because you never know who's listening. That it could be that one thing that helps really help their life. Is, remember, anytime you're exposed to certain things like that, use the wonderful absorption aids that we have out there that could help you to absorb some of that toxicity, that can help it not hurt your body as bad. And the sooner you use it right after you've been exposed to something like that, the better you can help it to come out of the body, because it won't get as deeply embedded into the tissues and the organs. Is as long as you are staying properly hydrated and you're helping your colon to move, then you can use like bentonite clay, and you can use activated charcoal, because those are wonderful absorption aids. And those help absorb those heavy metals and those chemicals and those toxicity. You just have to make sure that you're hydrated well and that your bowels are moving, because they can absorb, the water from your colon some, and they can absorb, they can make your bowels a little slower and more sluggish. And that's one reason why we tell people you have to, be cautious when you're taking the GI broom, is because it can slow you down some, because it's binders along with those. I think Dr. Morse doesn't use the the bentonite clay anymore. He hasn't used that for years in his formulas. He just uses activated charcoal. But just that, those are things that I would do if I was exposed to anything like that. Either something that I knew I had to do, or it was against my wishes. Then immediately afterwards, even if I went traveling somewhere and I got exposed to something just from traveling, I would do the same thing. That's why I recommend anyone that travels, take activated charcoal with you, because you never know what it can help you, even with food poisoning. And that's why you have to kind of be prepared out there in this world, because where you never know when you can be exposed to things like that. That if you have those things on hand, it can really be amazing. Last thing I'll mention on this, because I just love that we have these substances out there in the world. I'll tell you how strong activated charcoal is in helping us, especially with poisons. There was two French, I think one of them was French, and I can't remember the other nationality of the other individual, but there were two scientists. One was in the 1400s, I think, and the other one's in the 1700s. They both took a tablespoon. One took a tablespoon of arsenic, and the other one took a tablespoon of strychnine and mixed it with activated charcoal. I think the equal amount, tablespoon of that, and they swallowed it, and it did not poison them at all. The charcoal absorbed all of the poison, and it kept it from killing them. And ever since I read that years and years ago, I was like, that was so fascinating to me, that there is a substance out there that can actually help offset poisons. And then when I was talking to it with the military people, my dad's retired military, and a lady that works with us is too, and they said, well, Thad, our chem suits that we have, that it's lined with charcoal, and so that's one of your first things that help when you have chemical fallout, in war. And because charcoal is so absorbent. I mean, look, it's in filters, it's in water filters, it's in air filters. It's amazing. But even more than that, our bodies are made up so much on requiring carbon, that's also why charcoal is so beneficial to our bodies, is because it is carbon. And so that's another reason why there's so much that can be said about charcoal. We could spend a whole 30 minutes talking about just the power and the benefits of charcoal. And I'll leave it at that, Yeah.
Well, thank you. When I was traveling, I always had charcoal with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And they
think,
make
yeah,
some new forms that are ozonated. I think they're either ozonated or oxygenated or charcoal too. And it works even better, But yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I had another very, very short question. It was like, a friend has muscular dystrophy. Any suggestions?
Gary, you go this time first. Go ahead.
I'm going to go back to it's an electrical nutrition oxygen situation, and it's a breakdown of the electrical flow, the energy flow through the body. So I've had people in the class that have had, neurological issues. And a lot of times they're misdiagnosed. Because we've had people come with Parkinson's, and they were completely immobile. And within 2 months, they could move their legs, they could move their arms, they could put their arm over their head. They could stand up for 10 minutes on their own power with we were right there by them in case they needed us, but they couldn't speak, and they were actually singing us songs. That's why it's so, I keep going back to that, but it's fruits, berries, melons, vegetables, breath, slow movement. And that will, when we generate more energy in our body, and energy creates matter, whatever is the matter with the matter, it's an energy issue. So as we bring that energy up, it heals whatever is wrong. And you can put 50,000 different names on it. It all comes back to the same thing. Our diet, our hydration, our oxygen levels, our ability to move. You know, you're as young as your spine is flexible. So these are all things that restrict us, especially mentally. When we go, we can hop, skip, and jump into a doctor's office, and when we leave, we feel like we need a walker many times because the way the information is presented is so devastating that it becomes part of your story. And whatever story you're expressing and believing, you will manifest into reality. So I don't really know where to go from there other than getting your story, your oxygen, your hydration, and your nutrition correct. And whatever is wrong in the body can be eliminated. If it can manifest within the body, it can be eliminated by the body if we, the commander in chief of the body, are doing what it takes to make that happen. So no matter what the disease is or dis-ease, because I don't believe in disease, the dis-ease, if this is divine energy and you're a total 100% healthy right here, when you're healthy, you can't feel your body. And when it has disease, that's when you feel it. It's like a baby crying. You know, your body is asking for help and is pointing to whatever that issue is. So as your energy lowers through lack of proper hydration, nutrition, oxygen, movement, rest, right? Your energy starts to lower, and it doesn't mean you'll have, but you'll be susceptible to things like cold and flu and fibromyalgia and Hashimoto's and Parkinson's and MS and cancer. These are all frequencies that we're lowering ourselves down to, and they're manifesting themselves in our body. And once we raise our energy through those simple things, proper hydration, oxygen, and nutrition, movement, and rest, we start to elevate that, and these things can no longer exist. Tumors will go away. MS and Parkinson's and all these different things, they'll all go away because they're all a frequency, and our body has been lowered down because of lack of proper hydration, nutrition, and oxygen, movement. Well, we move too fast. Everything on television is about going from 0 to 100 miles an hour in 1.2 seconds, and the fastest runners and the fastest at getting points in a basketball game or whatever it is, right? We're always pushing. Don't do 100%, do 110, 120. These are things that are burning us out because we don't have the things that we need to keep our body healthy. And the body will do it all by itself. That's the problem. Our head is in the way. If we give the body what it needs, we don't even have to think about it. The body is designed to take care of itself. It's when we get in the way with this thing up here, because we think we're smarter than the body, that we start to have issues. And then we don't know what to do. But it all goes back to those basic things. Proper hydration, nutrition, oxygen. And it may be different for you. Like somebody may be able to eat this particular thing that you love and you can't eat it. When you go, well, that person can eat it. This is why I don't do a lot about recommending diets other than fruits, berries, melons, and vegetables, and sun ripened if you can get it, because the when it's ready to be eaten by nature, it's a sterilized container. That's the energy of the day, and it has all the minerals and enzymes and electrolytes and everything in it that you need. And as you're eating it, you're updating your body to that energy. And fruits, berries, and melons carry the greatest electrical transfer of all the foods. And sometimes that can be too high for some people. So they need to go back to a green smoothie and work their way up to it. Or a green juice and work their way up to the fruits. And maybe they start with maybe a glass of a fruit smoothie or a fruit juice, and then they have a couple of green smoothies or some nice herbal teas or tinctures or whatever it is that their body is calling for. And if their body reacts to it in a negative way, not to panic, just shift and do something else. Because we have to be the explorers. We have to manifest into our life our health. So we're going down the road to Hellville, like Dr. Morse would say, and we need to get to Wellville. Well, it's in the opposite direction. And what you're doing, if it's taking you to Hellville to turn around, those are the simple things it would be good for you to change so that your body can energize itself and correct whatever is wrong within the body. Does that make sense? I think it does. It does for me anyway. So I'm going to end it right there.
Would you like to add anything to it, Dad?
Yeah, only thing I really could add to what Gary said, because Gary gave a great example, I mean, explanation and for it and everything, is that just understand sometimes these words that we use, like dystrophy. What does dystrophy mean? It's pretty much just saying dysfunction. It's not functioning properly. So you kind of have to, look more into the ways and the reasons why we use these words in the way we do, and so when I think of the muscles, I think of the nervous system and how it's connected. And you have to look at, how strong or how weak your nervous system is and how well it's functioning. And you have to look into things that helps it to function, better and more efficiently, and so, and when I think of dystrophy, I think of also, like something that has caused the muscle wasting, like to create wasting or degradation or, and so you'll have to help it to, build back up. So what you really need to do in that situation is you need to first, again, give a general cleaning to get the pollution out of the way. But then as soon as that happens, then start to move into the building phase and start to help build the person back up, so that their muscles and their body can recover. That's kind of the explanation of the way that I can give it, But guys, I would love to stay. I actually have to go early today. I can't stay until the end of the hour today. But I've enjoyed talking with you all, and I'll let y'all finish it out for today, and then I'll join with y'all next week.
Well, thank
All
you,
right.
Dad.
Thank you, Thad.
Yeah, we look forward to it. And
Yeah, no problem. I've enjoyed talking with y'all today about these subjects that we always talk about. I love sometimes how it's so random, because I feel like it flows better sometimes into the things that we need to talk about that week, and so, I love what we have going on. So I look forward to talking with you guys next week.
well, thank you.
Yeah.
I
All right.
look
Thanks,
forward.
Thad.
Yeah, we'll
Definitely
talk to you.
look forward to it. Bye-bye.
Yeah, y'all have a great afternoon. I'll talk to you next time.
Gary, I have another question, and this comes up quite a bit, and that is from people who have you can call it foreign material in the face, fillers or the silicone implants. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, she said during detox, I started to get a lot of inflammation in my head and neck, and especially around where I have foreign material in my face. I have autoimmune issues, so there's always some inflammation there. I assume my body is trying to remove this stuff, but obviously it can't. I slowed the detox and I also started it, but the swelling is the worst it's ever been. Massage has made it even worse. I have a scar in the middle of the swelling that pulls tight, making the surrounding swelling push onto my neck with a lot of pressure. Any ideas? I'm currently not detoxing, scared to make it worse. This is a big problem for a lot of people. They
Oh,
know
yeah.
they get it out, they can't get it out. With detoxing, yeah, the body wants to get rid of it, but how?
So over time, I would assume, I'm assuming it's like Botox or something like that.
Yeah.
It will absorb into the tissue and the body will eliminate it eventually. That's why they have to go back and have it redone every once in a while. But yeah, I know people are having that for migraine headaches. They're having Botox injected into them. They're doing it for all kinds of things now, right? And it's a toxin in the body, and it's foreign, so the immune system is attacking it. And inflammation is the lymphatic system. So it's in there, it's being attacked, and the lymphatic system is trying to isolate it, almost like to me, it would be almost like a tumor. Because a tumor is a sac, it's like a balloon, and it keeps putting the toxins in there. Well, it's trying to knit around it. The scar tissue, though, I don't quite understand the scar tissue in the middle of the inflammation. I mean, is it a visible scar? Is it
I don't
did
know
it
more.
break open?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't.
see, I know you don't know either. It's just, I'm just thinking out loud here.
Yeah.
But why are they doing it? Are they low on collagen and they have a lot of wrinkles that they're trying to get rid of? One of the things you can do is you can have you can drink collagen. You can use collagen to bring that elasticity, because that's part of the issue, is the elasticity of the skin. The collagen is going away, so the skin is starting to get wrinkled or baggy or whatever you want to call it. So one of the things you can do is right up by your ear, right down along your jawline, the bottom of your jaw and the top of your jaw, both sides. This will help release collagen into the body. So you can do that maybe 10, 15 times, as many times a day as you want to do. And again, you can get collagen and drink it, and it will help in the body. My problem with that is, see, I think it's 30 years old. They say that your collagen starts to deplete. Well, if you believe that, and you're not 30 years old yet, you will start to shut down your body's ability to create collagen. And this is true with anything. So the body produces collagen. So now you're taking a supplement. Instead of helping the body rebalance itself, you take a supplement, and if you take too much of it, the more you have that in the supplement, the less your body will produce. So you're actually helping it shut down its ability to produce collagen. This is true with everything, hormones, everything in the body. If the body produces it and you start taking a supplement, the supplement will help the body stop producing. And then you won't be able to do anything without the supplement. So I am definitely not a fan of Botox or any fillers. Like a lot of times they actually put stuff under your skin, like permanent stuff. And I'm not a big fan of that either, because it's a foreign object, and you can't have foreign objects in your body.
Yeah, but the problem is it is already in the body. So now how do you get rid of it?
The body will absorb it over time.
Yeah.
But you have to have a good diet also, and you have to be fluid. You have to have the right cleansers, which is the fruits, berries, and melons, and veggies too. But it's nowhere near as powerful as the fruit, berries, melons. We've been over that a few times here already. So moving, like she said, massage, right, is not really helping. Well, it's pushing it deeper into the tissue. And that's a major issue, because you're spreading it. You know, it may be in one spot or whatever. And in their face, their muscles are like paralyzed. You know, you get enough of that stuff in you. You can't smile. You can't raise your eyebrows. You can't. It's almost impossible to do anything facial, and that causes stagnation. And stagnation is, as it goes deeper and deeper into stagnation, goes deeper and deeper into it never working again, into death. Basically, the muscles are, there's no lymph, there's no blood going into that area, or it's having a harder time. So the longer you do it, the worse it's going to be, and the tissue starts to break down. It doesn't have a choice because it's being immersed. Those cells are being immersed in a fluid that's toxic in the body. So it'd be no different than eating toxic food, other than this is a synthetic form of hiding something that 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 hydration and nutrition and oxygen would delay, and the things that yeah, can't remember the name of it now, because I get stuck on the word glyphosate. The Botox, the Botox, when they inject that in there, and the lips and all that, I mean, things just can't function properly, and they make money off in that, and they could care less about you. And I'm not saying that you're a doctor, but the system could care less about you. The doctor is there to give you what you want, and that's a very synthetic thing to wind up with and in, is we're not we want to be youthful forever, and to be youthful is energy, is flexibility, is the ability to reason. And to me, to have Botox, there is no reason.
Yeah, no, but yeah, the point is now it is in there, like you said, the body will absorb it, the filler, the Botox, but then you still have the silicone implant. So it's like same as what a lot of women who had breast implants and did explants and start to feel better almost right away. I mean, my mother at a later age had actually breast implants, and yeah, I cannot get over that. Eventually, it killed her. So yeah.
So I've worked with two women that had breast implants that had leaking going on. One, when she got in touch with me, they'd given her 14 days to live, paralyzed face, and 70 listed diseases. So this was before she wasn't healthy enough for them to take them out. Now, two cases, two different doctors. I got them healthy enough. They did it. I didn't. I guided them, and both of them became healthy enough, and one couldn't even get out of bed to have the surgeries. So what did they do? They drained the bags and left them in. These are two of the top surgeons in the United States. They both did the same thing. They drained the bags and left the bags in. So then they were so sick that they didn't think they could do the surgery again. So I worked with them again, and they both got healthy enough that they could go back, and they took the bags out. It's been 4 or 5 years now, and I just got a picture from one of them, and she could be a model today. So from 14 days to live, paralyzed face, 10 months with herbs, proper hydration, fruits, berries, melons. Her face was not paralyzed anymore. Her skin looked amazing. I don't know. I don't think there's any diseases anymore. It's been 4 or 5 years now, and she could be a model today. And I'm sure the other one could too. She runs a retreat. I think it's in Panama. They have a big plantation down there. So those are two actual breast implant stories that I have that were both very successful, and I know they're not always successful, but these two were, and I can send you pictures or whatever, because one of them sent me pictures from the doctors and her transformation through to today, and she's amazing. And I have never met her. This was all done online. Never
Yeah.
met her.
But I think
And
when you have an implant in your face, those things are not filled with liquids, I think. So it
right.
would be little, but it seems that the only solution for better health would be removing the implant, and in your face, that's not always possible. It's still,
Yeah.
it's still
So
foreign material. Yeah.
yeah. So whether it's an implant or Botox or whatever it is, the implant, if you're talking about an actual implant like plastic being put inside you, yeah, the immune system is not going to like that. And they should know that you can't put anything that's dead in the body. You can't do that. That's dentists are the only ones that believe that you can leave dead things in the body, and that's a root canal. And the body just doesn't know what to do with it because it's not alive. So the immune system's going to go out and it's going to attack that, whether it's a tooth or whether you have surgery and they leave something in there and they have to do another surgery, take it out. That just happened to somebody that. So, two people that I know both had colon cancer, husband and wife. They had different surgeons, and they did them both a favor. This is what they told them after surgery, because you had mentioned something about this earlier. They did them both a favor, and while they were removing the colon cancer, they took out their gallbladders as a favor to save them from having a surgery later on, right? And I'm like, but that is what distributes the bile for heavy oils and stuff. But they don't tell them that stuff. They don't tell them they have to change a diet. And I mean, it's crazy to think that they would take out a good gallbladder because they were already in there. That makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot of. I was in a
To me,
meeting.
that is absolutely, it's absolutely criminal. All right.
Yeah, I was in a meeting.
Yeah. I see that Katie left us too.
Oh, she did? Well, I'm sorry we took up all her time.
Yeah, I think.
But I was in
Yeah.
a meeting. These are all lawyers, and where I was going with that. I remember one of them asked me what my medical credentials were, and I said, "In your world, zip, zero, nada, nothing," because I study health, not disease.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference there. And if you get what you focus on and all you're studying is disease instead of health, you're kind of going down the road to Hellville. So when you study health, that takes you to the road to Wellville. And it's simple. Matter of fact, it's so simple, people don't believe it. They don't believe that it can be that easy, but it is. It is that easy. So
it is.
Yeah, I I've been studying. Matter of fact, right now I've been studying some new things, and we can get into those later. And not enough to even talk about it right now, but more things with the eyes. The eyes are so important. They control almost every muscle in the body, and they're on a constant lookout for what we fear, for what we our limitations. They're on the constant lookout for that. You tip your eyes up, your head goes up, down, back, forth, your whole body will go. So they control all these muscles all through here and all the fascia with your tongue. So that's why we do a lot of eye things. And I have some new ones that are coming up. So I'm looking forward to sharing that information, because we're going to realize how powerful our eyes are and how many muscles they control in the body. And they're the trigger for our emotions, whether that's fight or flight or rest, digest, and heal, or it's all about the eyes. They're very, very powerful. And they drink in the breath, locks it in the body. Eyes drink it in, and it goes in through the breath. And that can be anything from love to devastation. And as it gets locked in the body, it's a frequency. So it causes a little ripple in the balance of the frequency of whatever, whether that's the liver or the lungs, or, because we know depression is in the lungs and anger in the liver, and being ticked off is in the kidneys, and fright is in the knees. So that vibration will cause a ripple in that, and it will start to get worse the more you believe it. And the more you believe it, the worse it gets, until you end up with dis-ease in that area, which is a disruption in the vibrational path of the energy going to that area. And when that happens, then you start to get sick. So, I mean, it is amazing how simple the body is and how much they've complicated it by using a language that we don't really understand. I posted a thing on my Facebook. It's a word about that long, and it means the fear of long words. So that's part of the problem, is we don't know what doctors are talking about. And the way they present it is, this is what you're going to have. You can have it the rest of your life, which is not true. And you'll be on this medication for the rest of your life. And usually that medication, even though it may help at first over long periods of time, will do to that organ or gland exactly what it's supposed to be preventing. It can actually cause something to get so toxic that the tissues around it, because of the acids, it will melt them together. And when they melt together, they have to go in and do surgery to take them apart. So, that happens a lot in the body. The body is what we see on the outside, like a rash, or it gets so bad it can be an open wound, like an ulcer in your stomach. That same thing is going on inside our body. We just can't see it. And that's why the herbs and the hydration is so important, because it keeps it fluid. It's when it gets stagnant that it starts to melt and starts to weld itself together or cause disease. So, yeah, fascinating subject for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's
And
fascinating
I just,
for all of us. Yeah.
I just love helping people. And ever since my family passed and I figured out why, I said, if I ever figure it out, I'll tell the world. And Dr. Morse was the first one to wake me up. I mean, the second I listened to him, it was like the lights came on and they've never gone off since. And I love to listen to him talk.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen his latest video about all the changes that he is talking about, new formulas that will be.
No, but I figured he had to.
Yeah, under his control, he is doing it. Yeah, it's because I don't have the link here, but it was in the fans group. Marco posted it. It's I haven't seen it on the website morses.tv, but it is in the group. I put it at the top. pinned it at the top.
Okay.
It's interesting to see, you know, the changes that are coming. And of course, I would suggest everybody to check it out. Go there, Morses.tv. There's another domain name, website name now too, but you will see that from Morses.tv. Katie just messaged me. She had to go and she apologizes for not saying goodbye.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, and I have to go too. So I had two more questions that I will save for next week.
Awesome.
And yeah, I want to thank Katie. Katie put a lot of stuff in the chat, information about the Miracle Research book by Dr. Morse. It's a good read for
Oh, yeah.
everyone.
It
It's
is a
very
great read.
yeah, it's the one that I actually when I was studying to become a level 1 practitioner, it was actually more the book than anything else that I learned from. So I had the book already for a while, but when I started to do his study, it was like, okay, now you have to read it from you know, the whole book, page 1 until the end of it. Which I did, and yeah, and I should do it again. It's there's so much great information, and his video, all his videos are now on Morses.tv. So we have some short video clips by him on my channel. So they're good to find there too. I need to post your YouTube channel too, because I saw that you had one and had videos there too. And yeah, so I want to thank everyone for being here, and especially you, Gary, and still thanks to that we learned a few things again, and thanks to you. So I would say, you know, till the next time, and love to everyone. Especially you, Gary. Thank you.
And you for doing this. It's very powerful what you're doing. And I appreciate you doing it and that I can be a part of that.
And I'm very happy with that. We have a lot of more great things to do. So thank you. Okay.
Yes.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.